Well, hello my friends, welcome back to another episode of Dunswell Zoo. JW here. Last time we toured the Australia section so far of Dunswell Zoo. This time we are going to be exploring the South America section so far of Dunswell Zoo. We are here at the start of the South American section. Just before we get stuck in, please remember to hit that like button if you do end up liking this video, and subscribe to the channel if you are interested in Planet Zoo. I do, for the time being, exclusively Planet Zoo content, and there'll hopefully be some real world animal stuff in the near future. Again, hopefully being the operative word there. Right, let's get stuck in. You've probably, if you follow me on Instagram at JW_YT, you've probably seen a lot of the South America zone already. It's very, very similar to what I had in the original Dunswell Zoo. And I've posted pictures of that. Nevertheless, first up, unlike the Australia zone, which is just one collective area, the South America zone is split up into sections. So we have the Pampas pastures, the Peruvian prairie, the Pantanal paradise, the Atlantic forest, and the Chilean coasts. Those are the zones that you will find within South America. But first up, for the Pampas pastures, we have the Chacoan peccaries with their new and improved habitat. So I raised the ground level a little bit since the last time I showed off the Chacoan peccary habitat. I just felt it was a little bit too deep. It didn't allow the guests a particularly good view of the Chacoan peccaries, but you can see that that's not the case now. We have 7 Chacoan peccaries, I think. Maybe 6. Probably 6 actually, 3 pairs. Still got the little bit of water at the end. Got mud wallow, food foraging. Terrain just needs a little bit of work there. It looks like it's hovering. We do have some infants already. Some little piglets. Just like the last episode with the dingoes, this is ideal viewing experience if you go to a zoo. This is the kind of stuff you would want to see. It's just absolutely phenomenal. Chacoan peccaries. So they have this entire area. There's a little wildflower meadow down there that is sort of intentionally out of view from the guests. And then behind we have help us to reintroduce Chacoan peccaries to the wild. And then we've also got these conservation topics. So we've got poaching, I think that one is. We've got some implied education around the front here, which just talks about the importance of biodiverse habitats, which is an example of here. You know, we've got the underlying bush, we've got the mid-level stuff, we've got the long grasses, and then of course we've got the trees. We have a staff zone for the Pampas pastures and the Peruvian prairie. This is that staff zone. So again, everything we need here, all of your essential facilities. And then in here we have the Chacoan peccary indoor accommodation. So there's this big area. Just need to slide that up a bit at some point. Or maybe slide the bar down. There's a little bit of Z fighting going on there. Same there actually. And then this area can also be shut off if we need to separate them. And I have just kept this wall in. I know it doesn't look particularly nice. It does look a bit messy. But I kind of like it. I might just cover it with some plants or something. Just sort of, so you get a little glimpse, maybe. And that's essentially the Chacoan peccaries. First animal in the Pampas pastures. Second animal in the Pampas pastures, This is intentionally left. There might be something going in here in the future, I'm not entirely sure. Second animal in the pampas pastures, depending on which way you go, is either just ahead or you could turn right after this fence. We're going to turn right, but first you have just a toilet block and some lovely, lovely wildflowers, of course, from the amazing conservation pack that we got. So we've got some more staff-only access to the right and the left. And we've got a direction board here. So this will tell you that back in that direction, you have the monorail station, the entrance plaza, the Australia zone, the Asia zone, the Africa zone, the guest amenities of the restaurant, and the conservation station. And to the right, you have maned wolves, capybara springs, mountain tapir, bush dogs, giant anteater, flamingos, Andean bears, and South American coatis. And that is the direction we are going to be going. So this staff-only access loops around the back of the Chacoan peccary habitat and links up with the anteater, the greater rhea, and the coati. And then they follow it round here, around the back of the coati and anteater habitats, which staff access is here, and they can also cut through, which brings them out here. We'll get onto that shortly, getting ahead of ourselves. And then if they follow this back, this brings you back round the Chacoan peccary habitat, and then back to where we first came in. Pretty neat. I quite like how I've laid that out, if I do say so myself. Just behind the Chacoan peccary habitat, and then race back round to the greater rhea. And bloop. There we go. So this is the greater rhea habitat. And you can see we also have some chicks, some juveniles. Now I have put the boundary in here with some rocks, unlike with the kangaroos in the Australia zone, purely because the greater rhea can actually give a pretty nasty nip if they bite you. Yorkshire Wildlife Park used to have some greater rhea, I think it was, or Darwin's rhea, one of the two, and they had them in the walkthrough exhibit, and they eventually had to remove them because they kept biting guests. So there's just, and you've got the fence, and then the rock sort of boundary. That should be enough to stop people from putting their arms into the animal's enclosure. If they don't, then it's their own fault if they get bitten, quite frankly. But we're full to the brim with our greater rhea. There's 1 male and 6 females, and I think 4 of the 6 females have had chicks. So there's a lot of greater rhea here. But they are near threatened, and the juveniles, when they are old enough, they'll be released to the wild or to other collections. Thank you for your donation. Just again, we've got some of the education and some implied education here as well. Over on the other side of the path then, we have the guanaco, which is least concern. Support one of our many South American conservation projects. Now, the habitat's a little bit vertical, so I may well need to slope it off a little bit. But I wanted to recreate the guanaco's habitat as naturally as possible, because they are sort of the ancestor to llamas, but they are also least concern, so we don't need to worry about breeding them, and we're not breeding them. Here's one of them. Not all the guanaco are in at the moment, so the habitat looks a little bit empty. We're only on, I think, 4 or 5 guanacos, but I want 9, so that's why it looks a little bit empty at the moment. But it's also because the habitat is quite sort of vertical. There's no view, lines of sight. That's the one I was looking for. There's no lines of sight. Like from here, you can sort of see into the house, but you can't really see the legs. So it's stuff like that. I might just need to tweak that habitat design a little bit. And then you're not missing anything on the right here, just the rear habitat. And then you can either go left or right. To the right to the Peruvian prairie, or left up here. We're going to go left for now. You've got some planting over on the left here. I may alter that a little bit, put some more stuff in there. We've got that there. And you enter this little food court area where people can sit and have something to eat if they don't want to go to the food court at the entrance, or perhaps they're on their way back through, heading towards the exit, and they just want to grab something to eat. And then of course we have a staff room just around the corner here. I've never actually properly looked in one of these staff rooms, so games console, TV, some plants, lockers, little elephant clock that works. Pretty cool actually. Animal magnets. Oh, well, they should actually do those, because they do Planet Zoo merchandise now. They should do like magnets like that. And the little sloth mug, that's real cool. Cereal. It's pretty cool. And the staff can just sort of look at what's going on from here. But if you don't want to sit out here, if there's space available, you can actually sit up on this viewing platform where you get a slightly better view of the guanaco. I say slightly because it is only a slightly better view. Of course, there will be more guanaco in here as well, don't forget. There's only about 4 at the moment, so we're going to more than double that. And then we head to the Peruvian prairie, which is straight down here, and you have an animal straight away on your left, and you may be able to tell from the education boards what that animal is, but it is indeed the bush dog. I tried to recreate as accurately as possible the habitat that I had in the previous Dunswell Zoo, just with a few more features. So there's now a log that I still don't think they use it, but they should be able to use it, is the point. There's some like temple ruins in there now. I think that's a bush dog over there, and there's one there. So there's the bush dogs, and they have their indoor habitat as well. And then we reach another set of directions. So if we carry on in this area, oops, where are we going? We'll get the maned wolves, the South American coati, the bush dogs, which they're just behind us, of course, the mountain tapir, the giant anteater, the Asia zone, the monorail station, and guest amenities. And then back in that way, we've got the guanaco, the Chacoan peccary, the greater rhea, some guest amenities, the Atlantic forest, the entrance plaza, the capybara springs, and the Pantanal paradise. We are going to continue in this direction, past some vending machines, and the path sort of forks off into 2. We're going to go down here and then come back on ourselves, because this area is not looped round yet. So straight away you can see in here we have the giant anteater. We have a female and her young in here, and we can house 2 giant anteaters in here, either 2 males or 2 females. For now it will house the 2 females, and the male will be mixed back in with the non-related female, of course, at a later date. I could do a little bit more detailing on here, really. Looks a bit bland and boring, so maybe we'll do that. But then over here we have time is running out to save the giant anteater, which is. Time is running out. The anteaters are vulnerable, and their situation is unfortunately getting worse. But here we have the outdoor section of the giant anteater habitat. It's nice and spacious. There's enough room for them. There's nothing else to really say beyond that. They've got their termite mounds. They've got some shade. They've got foraging opportunities. There's just enough there for them, really. And then you can see that then splits, and there's a gate there for easier access. But then we have, in this habitat, we have our male giant anteater and the South American coatis, which are, of course, least concern. So we've got a pool of water in the middle. We can see some of the coatis. We can see a lot of the coatis, actually. I can't see the giant anteater. And then, of course, we've got this here, which you have no idea what it is. Help us to protect vital habitats across South America. So we're just going to shoot down here a little bit. And then we've got some slightly different directions. Sorry, not decorations. So back that way, we have guest amenities, the entrance plaza, the bush dogs, the peccaries, the guanaco, the mountain tapirs, the maned wolves, and the greater rhea. But in that direction, so through what will become a rock arch, we have red pandas, dhole, Himalayan brown bear, guest amenities, wild china, monorail station, the Indo-Gangetic plains, and the snow leopard. That's going to be through there, and you can actually just catch a glimpse of where the monorail station is going to be. But we're going to turn this way, and we have some front viewing for our coatis and anteaters. We may put another species in here, that's why it's so big. But we've got a lot of coatis at the moment, so I don't think it'll be anytime soon. Again, we've got the donation, the education. We've got it all. And then this brings us to this. Well, I quite like this area. It's a lovely little area. There's the male anteater. He's in here. Now, there was a mural here, and there will be a mural again at some point, but the mural was part of the safari pack, and of course the prop mods broke, so we had to take those out. But yeah, that's what there is so far. And then, of course, we've got donation, some seating if you just want to sit and watch, and some more stuff around here. And then this is, of course, staff access back through to the staff zone. So that's that. We'll just skip over these here. But yeah, there, excuse the barking dog. It's not my dog. They don't even have a dog. There could be some more, one or two other species going in here. I think one is more likely. But we'll see what happens at a later date. Just look at this coati here. Look at that. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. So let's race back, because I don't want this to go on for too long. The zoo's not open yet, that's why there's only staff members walking around. And we're now going to go up this little hill. Please excuse my very poor attempt at sloped curving. I hate slopes. It's really difficult to do sloped curving. I did my best, so deal with it. And over on the right we have the maned wolves. Maned wolf populations are declining because of our actions. Help us to preserve these animals today. And they are indeed declining because of us. Now, the maned wolves have a very big habitat. You can see there's one there. And And there should be... There's a juvenile, yeah. We've got 2 pups. So there should be mum, dad, and the 2 male pups. And this is their habitat. Like I said, it is quite big. There we go. So we've got mum, dad, one of them poo, and one of the pups. I don't know where the other one is. But then they've got this quite shallow pool, what they can wade through, showing off their long legs. Got this wooded sort of boundary to the habitat. So all of that's in the shade there, and it's really thick foliage for them to hide in, and we put enrichment in there and stuff as well. I do feel the habitat's perhaps a little bit too big. It doesn't help that I've included such a wide boundary here between the guest viewpoint and the habitat sort of boundary, but I'm reluctant in a sense to change it, because the maned wolves can live with giant anteaters, so we may put another species in here as well, or maybe some temporary holding for giant anteaters. So we'll just see what happens there, really. They also have an education talk point and some benches for people to sit and listen to what's being talked about. Another donation thing there. Then we'll take this little sort of jungle cut through under these trees, and we have the bush dogs here. So we've got, despite their wide range, bush dogs are very rare to see in the wild. Your donations will help us to track wild bush dogs and reveal more about their secretive lives. And that is very true. Bush dogs were thought to be extinct at one point. That's how rare they are. Here we have a bush dog. Can't see any others, but there's a bush dog. So they are near threatened as well, but you can get a good sort of viewing from here. The neighbours to the bush dog then, the keepers have to take this very precarious slope down into this habitat, and there's one of the residents of this habitat. We have 2 maned wolves. We have 2 mountain tapirs, sorry. In fact, I think we've got more than 2. I think I saw a birth announcement. This one's slightly different. Donate today and help us save as many species as possible. There's some different signs here, just a taste of some of the species you can expect to see soon. So we have the ocelot, we have realm of the jaguar, we have giant otters, we have marsh deer, howler monkeys, a restaurant, monorail station, guest amenities, mountain tapir, flamingos, capybara springs, Andean bears, and then monorail station, Asia zone, giant anteater, and maned wolves. So let's have a look at our mountain tapirs then. I believe that's the infant, yep, so they have had a baby. That's excellent news. They are endangered, they are exceptionally rare, these animals, and the fact that we're able to breed them is amazing. Together we can save the rarest tapir in the world. Donate today. That's true, the mountain tapirs are the rarest tapir in the world. Education for them, because of course we would have to. You can get some really good viewing points here, actually. So we've got the baby down here. We've got one there. I think the other one's asleep inside. But yeah, the story behind this is these 2 mountain tapirs, because they are so rare even in captivity, not just in the wild. These 2 mountain tapirs that we have at Dunswell Zoo were... there were too traumatized and too injured from their ordeals that they had to remain in captivity for the rest of their lives. Genetic testing proved that they weren't related, So we provided a home for them so that we can raise awareness for the plight of this species and the threats that they face, as well as, you know, breed from them. Just because they can't function in the wild doesn't mean that they can't have a happy life and a healthy life in captivity when they have 24-hour vet care and conditions are slightly more controlled than they are in the wild, stuff like that. So definitely really lucky to have these animals in Dunswell Zoo. Moving on. And we have this little garden area here and some planting along the side. Up there is the little food courtyard area, little wildflower area here. Slightly more tropical planting on the right here. And then we've got some more native planting and some wildflowers on the left. And of course, this is the zoo boundary wall. Some of the new plants from the Twilight Pack. And then we arrive at the Pantanal Paradise. Then we've got some signs here, same as the ones over there, so we don't need to... Yeah, I thought that said Andean bears, and I was like, no, they're this way. That's why I went back to it. So you pass sort of through this temple. It does need a bit more work in here. It's quite bland, but it's on my to-do list. Again, this probably needs something a bit more interesting down here. Could put some more plants on the wall here. And then you come out into this quite industrial looking, it's not very South American looking, quite industrial looking sort of plaza. And you have some big habitats around here. So we'll go to Capybara Springs. We have this little decorative pond here with some capybara statues. And we have the capybara, we have the agouti, and we have the saki monkeys. Donate today and help us preserve vital habitats in the Pantanal. So we push this one, and we push this one. And we've of course got our capybara, our white-faced saki monkeys, and it's not a red-rumped agouti, it's an Azara's agouti, and I've reported that to Leaf, and I'm sure I'll get round to it at some point. So we come in to a walk-through habitat. It's a bit quiet in here at the moment. Again, the reason why this habitat is so big is because there's potential to add more species than the 3 that are just in here, which is something we may well do. So we have an Azara's agouti down here, we have 2 capybara over there, and we actually have a saki monkey, what was just using the climbing enrichment then. Another Azara's agouti, another Azara's agouti, and there was an Azara's agouti here. It's got a lovely waterfall there. Did we just see a saki monkey? We did. There's a female white-faced saki monkey. Just launching herself everywhere. I don't know why the saki monkeys like this area more than the area that I've actually dedicated for them. But there we go. So you can see here we have our male saki monkey, our female saki monkeys, capybara, another male saki monkey, more capybara, and Azara's agouti. I've got some staff access here, but of course it's... Oops, I forgot a piece of mesh. We have our staff access here, and I forgot it there as well. Oh dear. Staff access here, essentially. Of course it's non-functional, it's just for show. So that's the 3 species that we have in here at the moment. The Azara's agouti, which are these little cuties. The capybara, which are these little cuties. and the white-faced Saki monkeys, which are those little cuties. This habitat is loosely based off Yorkshire Wildlife Park. But we can add, and probably will add, a few more species to this habitat in the near future, depending on what we get. But there's this jungle area that's meant to be for the Azara's agoutis, because they're very secretive and shy animals. So that area is meant to be for them. But they're not particularly secretive and shy because they're just all over the place. This area is meant to be for the Saki monkeys, as is the island, Saki Island. And in here you can actually get a view, although not a very good view, of the Saki monkey indoor habitat for the cold winter months. But they are in here, look, they like it. So yeah, and then of course you would push this, and then you brought it back out. The other way to view this habitat is from the front here, on this sort of walkway that views the Saki Island. I don't think we're going to see any of them on the island. Just have a quick look. Don't want to keep you all too long. No, but there is a capybara having a swim, so we'll take that. Here then, the wetlands. So the idea behind the Pantanal area of the South America zone in Dunswell Zoo was that there's an emphasis on the wetlands, because it's the Pantanal Basin, it's the largest wetland in the world. And that's what I was going for. So the majority of bodies of water in this area, they're all connected. So if we just look from this side, you'll see that the water from the Capybara Springs flows freely into this lake here, which has natural filtration from the reeds and the aquatic plants that are in there. And there's education about some of the native species that you would be able to find in here. And it's the same a little bit further on as well, here. So again, some of the species that you would be able to find in here, you know, there's kingfishers, mallard ducks, mute swans, common newts, just animals like that, toads, frogs, etc. And then sort of hidden by this bushy area, there's this pipe. And this pipe takes the water all the way through into the Pantanal aviary, where it then spills out into here. And we're going to go in there in just a second. So there are 6 species of bird in this aviary for the time being. So we have scarlet ibis. Although this species is currently listed as least concern, I can't speak today, the habitat is very much at risk. With your help, we can preserve the rainforest and ensure this species and many others will still have somewhere to call home. The first 3 species, we have James's flamingo, which is near threatened. We have the southern screamer, which is least concern. And we have the Andean flamingo, which is vulnerable. There are also 3 other species in there as well. And the same with the spoonbill, which is another one. Spoonbill and ibis are 2 of the 3 other species. Although these species are currently listed as least concern, their habitat is very much at risk. With your help, we can preserve the wetlands and waterways of South America and ensure this species and many others will still have somewhere to call home. There were statues here, but they're from the safari park and, you know, broke. I don't want to keep repeating the record. But we have the Pantanal pool. So we'll head down here, and this is how you enter the Pantanal pool. No food or drink in the aviary. Do not drop things into the water. Do not call out to the animals. Do not shout or scream within the aviary. And when attending the educational talk, please do not block the walkway. Daily educational talk times take place at 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. Shh. The animals in this aviary are easily stressed and spooked. To maintain optimal animal welfare as well as guest experience, we politely request that you remain as quiet as possible when inside the aviary. Any guest found to be making excessive noise or ignoring the rules will be asked to leave the zoo. You have been warned. So you enter this way, and you've got this little planted rocky barrier and scarlet ibis. Apparently, I didn't know they could get over here. Need to put some plants in this side, and then you take the walkway up, and it's going to bring you round here to the educational talk point. So they would sit here. Can you help us to fund a study on the effects of water pollution in South America's flamingos? Then you of course have the education point where they would talk about the flamingos. You can actually see a flamingo there in the background. And then we have spoonbills at this side. Just need to do this before I forget. Andean flamingo, Chilean flamingo, James's flamingo, scarlet ibis, but it doesn't have working education, southern screamer, and roseated spoonbill. There we go. And then you would take this walkway. Now in the old Dunswell Zoo, the walkway was significantly bigger. The aviary was also smaller. It might be that we have to increase the size of the walkway, depends how popular this area is going to be. But we are slowly building up our population of birds in here. So we have the southern screamer, 3 species of flamingo, the scarlet ibis, and the roseate spoonbill. You can see scarlet ibis here, just trotting along. We have these little waterfalls that sort of churn the water and keep it nice and healthy, contributing to the biodiversity of the connected waterways. Then we have some flamingos down here. Same at this side, some flamingos. Pretty cool. I'd enjoy something like this, to be fair. Most of the flamingos hang out here. I've got some babies already, that's really cool. There's a spoonbill inside, and a southern screamer's just disappeared around the corner. Yep, there's a southern screamer just in there. All the flamingos have been called in for their food. Ah, this is going to be cool. We're really lucky to see this. So the foraging pool has been filled with krill. So we're going to see, hopefully, the flamingos do a little bit of foraging. Yeah, we're going to see, aren't we? Oh, fantastic. You have been in for a real treat with this episode. Wow. I just love watching animals do their natural behaviours like this. It's what I spend a lot of time doing in Planet Zoo. It's not just building their habitats, it's just watching the animals. Anyway, we must move on. And then you exit. You would push this, wait for that to shut, and then open this. That brings you out here. And we've got a little bit of implied education about this monkey puzzle tree. Then we've got a staff zone with access to the... oops, I need to tidy that up. We've got a staff zone with access to the flamingos indoor area. That's all planted off. That's access to the Capybara Springs habitat. Got some education here about biodiversity and the importance of different plant types and plant structure. Need to put a door on here. This is the indoor flamingo area. We've got some conservation over on the left and the right here. We've got some more signs. Then we can either go left, straight on, or right. We're going to go right, which brings us to one of two habitats for the Andean bear. Your support will help ensure there is a future for the Andean bear. Please consider donating today. The Andean bear habitat is based on Chester zoos, and we're really lucky to actually see our male Andean bear there. So the idea is that the Andean bear would walk along these logs and like a climbing structure and a platform and stuff like that. It's really, really cool. I've never actually seen the Andean bear walk across this log though, which is unfortunate because it'd be a really cool photo opportunity. Again, connected wetlands. So the male's disappeared behind there. We have Andean bears here, a little cutout of a bear. And then we're just going to loop back around very quickly. And you can get some more viewing of the Dracoan peccaries and the scarlet ibis from here. These are the two birds what you're most likely to see in this area. Even though you stand a better chance at seeing the spoonbills and the flamingos, apparently. And again, some more education, implied education anyway. Then we have the indoor Andean bear, which is for the keepers only. Again, there is a mural, what goes on here, and what goes on here, but I had to take that out because it was part of a mod that broke. We have a male Andean bear eating there. The female's not here, so she must be outside, which is going to be good for us. So we take this little right path, and there's some more education. There she is, there's the female. Slightly different habitat, a little bit bigger, because of course she would have cubs with her as well in here when they start breeding, because they are of course vulnerable, the Andean bears. Yeah, I really like this habitat. She's off for a swim. Education talk point, and there's a little bit of a path that splits off in case this gets a bit clogged. But there's some education here for Andean bears. So males can grow up to 30% larger than females. Andean bears are also called spectacled bears because of the markings around their eyes. Looks like spectacles. Andean bears are actually primarily vegetarian. The spectacled bear is the only species of bear in South America. Although our Andean bears live in the Pantanal Paradise area of the zoo, in the wild it is uncommon for the bears to venture down from the Andes mountain range and into the Pantanal Basin. However, due to climate change, habitat destruction and conflict with humans, Andean bears are now being found more regularly outside of their typical mountainous homes. Andean bears and an ambiguous subspecies of jaguars, the Pantanal jaguar, are coming into conflict more and more as space and food becomes increasingly scarce. Did you know Andean bears listed as vulnerable on the IUCN Red List are among the carnivores that are most likely to move towards extinction? And I haven't put it on there because I ran out of room, but it's of the carnivores most likely to move towards extinction in the next 25 years. The Andean bear is one of them. So the Andean bear could be either at risk of extinction or extinct well within most of our lifetimes. And that's a really scary thought, that this bear could be gone by the time I'm like 50. It's awful. We need to be doing more. And that's what this project is about, what Dunswell is about. It's about raising that awareness, educating people, but also having fun, playing a game at the same time. And then we have some staff facilities sort of hidden around the back here. And then this heads off that way. We'll get onto all of that in just a second. So we're going to backtrack on ourselves just a little bit. And we're nearly at the end of our tour now, folks. So please stick with me. So we have this hedging here. And you know, it's all treed and planted. It's a wonderful giant otter fountain. And Inca Eats, which is the name of the restaurant here. Some wildflowers. And then you would come through here. And if you want to sit in the restaurant to have something to eat, you can certainly do that. It is all ground level with this glass dome. So it might be that we put a little bit of shade in here. Maybe some vents as well. It could get quite stuffy, I'd imagine. But that's that essentially. It's just your standard sort of restaurant footprint. Then just on the next right we have another one of those little L-shaped food areas, food courtyard things, and some planting along the back, and there's a wall here. And then we have this hedged in area, and it's lovely and away from people. You know, you don't want to be eating your food when there's people brushing past you, so it's hidden away and it's nice and quiet. And then we get to our next set of signs, which is slightly different. So we have our marsh deer, the realm of the jaguar, we have reptiles at risk, the birds, tapir, Chilean coasts, Atlantic forest, ocelot, and monorail station, and of course everything I've already shown you back in that direction. But the next thing that you'll be seeing on the channel is the speed build of this habitat here, which is for the Venezuelan red howler monkeys. Does need a little bit of terraforming work, and of course it's connected again. But the idea is that you walk out onto this platform and you will get a really good view of the Venezuelan red howler monkeys. I'm really sorry if you can hear dogs barking in the background. People need to learn to keep control of their dogs around here. I might redo this path actually. You can see it ever so slightly slopes up, but it doesn't slope up enough for me. So I might do it again and just raise the path a little bit more. And then you of course follow this trail and it links you back in with the main path. So if I then change our view, this is what awaits us. The Venezuelan red howler monkey will be in here, marsh deer in here, monorail station back here, pampas deer here, ocelot here, giant otter here, realm of the jaguar here, reptiles at risk in here. And you can see there's a few sort of gaps. I want to put another conservation station in. That was the whole point. So they're going to go in one of those spaces somewhere. I don't think the giant otter's going to need all of this space, so we might be able to expand the marsh deer habitat a little bit. It does look a little bit small. The pathing, not final at all. It could completely change. Realm of the Jaguar is going to be a pretty big build. It's going to be 2 habitats, one for sort of retired jaguars and one for a breeding pair. Reptiles at risk, primarily Galapagos tortoise, but there's going to be a couple of other little amphibians and snakes and iguanas and things on the outside. Pampas deer in there, ocelot in there, Colombian white-faced capuchin and birds, tapir in a mixed habitat in there. And the monorail station for South America, which will of course link up with the monorail station for Asia, which is there. And then we have the Atlantic forest, which will probably go in here because it's not that big of an area in the zoo particularly. And then we have the Chilean coasts, which I might wedge right against the end here because it's penguins. And that would be the South America zone done, which then leaves us with all of this area for Asia. And there are going to be a lot of animals for Asia. And then all of this for Africa. And there's a lot of animals for Africa as well, which is why I've gone for those two zones last. But essentially, that is it for this episode, the tour of the South American area. The bear just... Oh, I forgot the dive, don't they? Pretty cool. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, my friends. I hope you have enjoyed this tour. I certainly have. We've seen some amazing things. Please leave your thoughts and suggestions in the comment section below. Anything you would change? Would you not change anything? Stuff like that. I'd really appreciate it. It really helps me out. As does liking and subscribing. Like the video if you have liked it and subscribe to the channel too. Really helps me out. Helps the channel grow. You can find me on Instagram at jw_yt. Until the next time, my friends, stay safe, stay kind, and I shall see you all in that next video. Goodbye for now.